Am I audible? Hello, all.
Yes, ma'am, audible, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, very good evening to one and all. I'm Pradeepa Nagarajan, Assistant Professor in the Department of Corporate Secretariship, Shift 2, Agachan Manuel Jain College. And it is my pleasure to welcome you all once again to day 5 of our International Virtual Faculty Development Program on the theme Tech Enabled Student Development in a VUCA Bani World. Your continued participation and enthusiasm has made this journey not only impactful but truly meaningful. Thank you for being an integral part of this learning experience as we explore forward thinking pedagogical tools and strategies suited for today's evolving educational landscape. This evening, as we begin, it is not only fitting to pause and express our heartfelt gratitude to those who have been the driving force behind this program. I have to thank our organizer. A sincere thank you to Dr. M. Kaveri, our dedicated and a dynamic facilitator, whose vision, energy, and meticulous planning have kept this FDP organized and engaging. So equally, we extend our heartfelt appreciation to Dr. B. Karthikeyan for being the quiet strength behind the scenes, ensuring smooth coordination and seamless execution day after day. So thank you to the organizers. We deeply value your commitment and we thank you both for being the guiding force behind this academic initiative. As
Thank
we
you, ma'am.
proceed, yes, thank you, both of you, going
Thank
well.
you, ma'am.
Yes, so people, as we proceed further into this intellectual enriching journey, we are delighted to welcome yet another distinguished expert today. The topic promises to be both practical and insightful as we delve into innovative teaching methodologies that resonate with 21st century learning and problem solving. So let us all now begin this session on a note of divine. I invite everyone to join us the Jain Maha Mantra followed by Tamil Thai வாழ்த்து.
ॐ नमो वरिहन्ताणं ॐ नमो सिद्धाणं ॐ नमो
Thank you all for that respectful beginning. To formally begin today's proceedings, I now invite my teammate, Professor P. Meena, Assistant Professor, to deliver the welcome address. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Pradipha ma'am. A very good evening to one and all present here. On behalf of the Department of Corporate Secretaryship, I am happy and honored to welcome you to all the 7-day virtual faculty development program on tech-enabled student development in a Vikabani world, preparing learners for uncertain future. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome our respected dignitaries, our Secretary Sri Udan Kumar Chodia, Associate Secretary Sri Hemant P. Chodia, Dean Dr. M. Ramya, Deputy Dean Dr. R. Sureka, and Director Dr. N. Venkataramanan, whose presence encourages and support all our academic efforts. I am especially delighted to extend a heartfelt and warm welcome our esteemed resource person for today, Professor Kavya J. Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, HKBK Degree College, Bangalore, with over 7 years of academic experience and notable contribution in research, institutional development, and student mentoring. Professor Kavya is truly an accomplished academician and proactive educator. We are honored to have you with us, ma'am, and eagerly look forward to your enriching session. Welcome you, ma'am. I would also like to warmly welcome all our faculty participations from various esteemed institutions whose enthusiastic present add value to these academic initiatives. Once again, thank you all for being here, and I wish you an enriching and meaningful experience throughout the session. Thank you.
Professor Meena, thank you for the warm welcome. It is now my pleasure to invite my colleague, Professor P. Panditurai, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics, to introduce our esteemed speaker for the day, Professor Kavya J., Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, HKBK College, Bangalore. Sir, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Pradima, ma'am. Good evening to everyone. It gives me a great pleasure to introduce our chief guest for today's session, Professor Kavya J. Professor Kavya is enthusiastic teacher with more than 7 years of experience in college teaching, and before that, she worked for 3 years in the banking industry. She currently working as an assistant professor in Commerce Department at HKBK Degree College, Bangalore. She holds bachelor's in business management and MCOM and B.Ed. She also pursuing PhD in commerce from Annamalai University. Along with teaching, she has taken up many leadership roles in her college, such as head of the department, NAC coordinator, and organizing many workshops, seminar, and webinar for the teachers and students. She also she also a researcher, having published article in respected journal on topic like digital banking, green finance, and employment retentions. She she has guiding many students in their projects and internship, and also serve the examiner for the university evaluations. Her achievement include the Best Teacher Award in 2023, Star Researcher Award, and Star Innovator Award. Apart from all these, she's a great speaker and helped her college sign important MOU uh, with industry partner. She is also actively involving the student mentoring and career guidance. We are really happy to have here such a talented and committed teacher with us today. Let warmly welcome Professor Kavya J to today FDP session. Welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, sir. We now move on to today's core session. So I'm happy to invite Professor Kavya J, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, HKBK College, Bangalore, to enlighten us on the topic design thinking and problem solving skills for the 21st century. Ma'am, the platform is all yours.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And thank you, sir, for the profile. Let me begin with a very happy evening to one and all present here. Myself, Professor Kavya, Department of Commerce, working as Assistant Professor, HKBK Degree College. So, as per the 7 days International Virtual Faculty Development Program, and my topic for the day is design thinking and problem solving skills for the 21st century. Am I audible to everyone? Is my screen presented?
Yes,
Everyone can.
yes, ma'am. Everything is
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much. So, proceeding with my topic. My topic is quite a creative one, and which all the educators in our teaching field must and should practice in order to ensure that the latest technology kids are able to capture their mind and soul, mind, and heart towards education. So, let's proceed with my topic. So today I'm going to have a basic 9 key concepts, that is introduction about design thinking and why 21st century demands a new approach, that is design thinking, and what are the key principles of design thinking, stages of design thinking, and what is problem solving skill, and what is the basic difference between problem solving skills and design thinking, and also the benefits, the advantages of design thinking, the challenges the challenges faced while implementing the design thinking, and what are the interactive activities in the classroom that can be utilized. Okay, so apart from all these nine in compared to all these 9 points, first point to eighth point will be completely a theory, which I'll be explaining you about the basic concepts. But when it comes to ninth point, it is the main point of this particular topic, that is interactive activities, where I'll be listing out at least 10 plus activities which every teachers or every educators will be able to implement in their teaching field, where the students might feel that the approach is really great and quite creative to be utilized in the classrooms. So moving forward towards the first part, that is introduction to design thinking. First and foremost, let us deeply understand what is design thinking. As I have already told you, design thinking is a problem solving approach. What do you mean by problem solving approach? It's a systematic method used by a person or maybe the problem solver in order to identify what is the actual issue or the challenges and how to solve that particular actual issue or challenges in a very creative and innovative manner. Okay, so as an educator, how am I going to view the current problems that as an educator I'm going to look at the learners? There are various types of learners. When you compare the learners 10 years back and right now, okay, we as a student itself, we had our approach of learning was different, and quite now if you look at the recent generation, their way of learning is quite different. So in order to equip that gap, okay, in order to ensure that the gap is being fulfilled, today's educators, okay, as we should be able to analyze what is the actual problems that is being faced by the learners. Okay, so if we don't know, as an educator, if we don't know what problems are being faced by the learners, we'll not be able to provide a proper solution to the students. Why we need to provide? Because what is our basic duty? The basic duty of an educator is to educate the child. If what we are trying to educate, they are not able to capture that particular topic or content or whatever creation that we are providing, it's of no use. So basically, as an educator, design thinking means you find a problem and you try to fix that particular problem in a very systematic and in a very creative or innovative way. So this particularly combines creative thinking. What do you mean by creative thinking? Creative thinking is not just for learners. Creative thinking is also for teachers, because as an educator, I need to think creatively. The problems are quite new. When you compare 10 years back teaching field and now, the problems that arises in teaching field is quite new and again upgraded with technology, just like technology. So what are we as an educator we need to do is we need to think in a very creative manner. That means thinking out of the box, not always inside the box. Maybe the solutions what we are expecting are out of the box, and as an educator we need to think out of the box. And empathy means being or understanding the feelings of learners. Let me tell you, as an educator we only look at the viewpoint of our teachers. We don't look at the viewpoint of students. Now as we toss a coin, we'll get head or tail. Same way, when we analyze the situation, there are two sides: the teacher's side, the educator's side, and the learner's side. So we always, as an educator, we look at only at the teacher's side. But what about the student side? Maybe they are feeling difficult with the subject or the concept, maybe due to personal reasons, or maybe due to the way they are not able to adapt to the teacher's teaching methods. Okay, so we need to understand the students, and after understanding the students, what should, as an educator, should I do? I should find a systematic reasoning. Why is that child, why is that learner facing that difficulty? So as an educator, what am I going to do in order to ensure that the learner is able to acquire the knowledge from me, that is the educator? So this is what design thinking is. So every educator should and must have this skill called as design thinking. Moving towards my next slide, why this design thinking is very much in demand in 21st century. The first point is rapid changes in technology. What do you mean by rapid changes in technology? See, as I told you, as the years are passing on, the technology is getting upgraded. That means as an educator, even I need to get upgraded very quickly. I cannot delay. If as an educator, if I try to delay the changes, I'm trying to delay the change to get adapted to the changes that's happening in the fast moving world. Students are getting adapted, but as a teacher, even it is also my responsibility to get adapted to the changes. Maybe to the way that I am trying to communicate, maybe the way that I am trying to teach them. Maybe I should stop teaching them in a traditional manner where only I keep on speaking and students keep listening. Maybe their attention capacity is only for a few minutes, hardly, out of 1 hour of class or 45 minutes of class. So why this particular design thinking is very much required for teachers in 21st century is because there is rapid change in technology. As you already know, we are into artificial intelligence, the way we communicate. During COVID period, we switched from offline class to online classes. That time we got adapted to lots of online classes like Google Meet, Zoom classes. Am I right? So we need to get upgraded. And also globalization. What do you mean by globalization? It means that the countries are interconnected through trade, communication, and travel. So students need to develop the skill set which can be competent towards all the students across the worldwide. So as a teacher, what I should do, I should also be competent enough in order to teach the student depending upon the global requirement. I should not stick on only with a boundary limit of my state or my district or my state or my country. The teaching method, the teaching way, including usage of examples in the live class must be like it should be at a global level where I include all the latest news updates as an example towards my topic. And also complex social challenges. What are the complex social challenges? Especially inequalities. As you already know, education in today's world, gone are days where only the rich children will get educated. Okay, now everyone have equal opportunity to get their education. So as a teacher, I should also ensure that the education is being promised and distributed in such a manner that all the students, despite of maybe their gender, despite of their religion, despite of their caste, despite of their culture, cultural difference. I should be able to implement my thought process into them. And the second reason why there is a demand for design thinking is traditional methods of problem solving and educations are no longer sufficient to meet the dynamic demand of this era. Let me tell you, as our teaching sector, okay, here you're getting a lot of technology. We are using a lot of technology. So what happens, the changes in technology is happening, and when the changes in technology is happening, the new skill sets are required. And if we still keep on following the traditional method of teaching, that is taking a blackboard and explaining to them, or taking a whiteboard and trying to explain to them like one way process, the students are not in a position to capture the data. So what should we do? We have to change depending upon the requirement of learners. So in today's world, people, the especially people, when I say people, it is the learner. The learners requires a different way of teaching. They want to learn the things in different manner. Maybe some students are okay when we show an image and try to explain to them. Some students are very much smart that when we start explaining itself, whatever concept we are trying to tell, it fits into their brain. Some students are like no, we have to read or write, and then only the concept gets into the mind. So traditional methods, we should always ensure in 21st century, as an educator, we should stop the traditional method of teaching. So, sorry to say, traditional method of teaching, hardly out of 100%, I would suggest 2%, and remaining 98% is completely depending upon today's generation, how they learn. The next one is complex and unpredictable problems. What is complex and unpredictable problems? All I can say is time and curricular pressure. Okay, as per if you see any university for that sake, you take degree undergraduation. So the university gives a phase of 3 months time, or maybe some university 4 months. So what happens is, we as an educator, I will not be in a position to teach the students or to teach the learners in a very sufficient and innovative manner if I'm sticking on towards the 3 months, because 3 months only if you go through traditional method you will be able to complete the portions. But what we teachers think is traditional method only works out, modern method does not works out. So what, as an educator, I need to do is, I need to implement various kind of activities in my classroom, where without giving any long lecture, I'll be able to ensure that the learners are acquiring knowledge through the activities. The next one is changing workforce demand. As you already know, working gone are days where we work only within the district, or again the state or the country. Okay, now the students started completing their education in India and then moving towards abroad, or completing their education abroad and moving towards India for education. So what should we do? We should always ensure that as per the requirement of the companies or the industry's expectation, the teacher should educate, the teacher should provide the skill set for the upcoming learners in such a manner that where jobs are quite open to people who are having this type of skill set. The next one is global connectivity and competition. As I already told you, we as an educator need to collaborate with multiple or various educators. Now for example, how come this FDP is happening in Tamil Nadu, and then I am linked up from Karnataka or Bangalore towards this particular FDP? It all happens because we are collaborating. What do you mean by collaborating? Exchanging the knowledge, exchanging the resources. For example, I can say is that maybe the concept that I am trying to teach is my way of teaching. Maybe there are other educators who can teach the same concept in a more very well-known manner, where the students will be able to capture the concept in a very quick and fast manner. So this is global connectivity and competition. As you already know, we are in 21st century, where the competition for any type of job is too high. That means you don't get a job very quickly and very fast. You need to have that skill set, and then only the learners will get that particular job. Next one is learners centered education. What do you mean by learner centered education? Again, I told you, gone are days where we follow the traditional methods. Now we need to adapt as per the learners. What are their needs? How are we going to fulfill their needs? Because who has to benefit ultimately? It is the learners. So the teachers, the educators should teach the students in such a manner that whatever the teaching process is going on, it will be benefited to the learners, that they perform in the examination as well as in life, acquiring skills also in a very fast manner. Moving on towards the next slides, let us understand what are the key principles of design thinking. Again, empathy means, as an educator, I need to think, or I need to understand deeply the students, the learners. How? By observing their behavior, observing their learning pattern, and also listening to their problem. Now we always think that we have done, as an educator, we have done our best in teaching, but need not be there. Maybe we are satisfied, but what is the requirement? The students, the learner should be satisfied. And when the learner will be satisfied? Only when he or she is able to understand, or is able to follow what we are trying to communicate to them, what we are trying to teach them. So when a student or when a learner is not able to capture the data, we need to listen to them, why they are feeling it difficult to understand what we are trying to teach. And also we need to collaborate with the students as well, not only with other educator, even with students. Because as I told you, students, especially the current generation learners, are quite advanced. They have lot of engaging activities than what we educators have. You just ask any student, you tell me this particular topic, how do you feel interesting, how do you want me to teach that you feel interesting? They'll give you a creative way. They will tell you exactly how you can improve. And there should be no ego in the faculty as well, that the way whatever the student is trying to communicate, we should be able to understand and follow and present that particular data in their own manner. Next one is define the problem. What do you mean by define the problem? First and foremost, we should understand, as an educator, why the learner is feeling it difficult to understand that particular concept. For example, accounting, there is a problem, that's why that particular learner is not performing well in the examination. So as an educator, I need to analyze, I need to identify what the actual problem is with that particular individual learner. Again, not into a group, individual learner. Why individual learner? Because maybe out of 100%, 60% of them are feeling difficulty in understanding the subject, and out of that 60%, maybe 20% have some personal issue, 20% have some teaching method issues with us, or maybe another percentage have some other issues. So in order to understand each category, we need to speak to individual student and analyze what is the actual real problem that is leading to difficulties in understanding. The next one is ideation. What do you mean by ideation? Once we understand what is the actual problem, we have to find various or wide range of creative ideas in order to solve that problem. Now, for example, uh, maybe as an educator, you felt that one particular child is not able to cope up with the way you're trying to teach in. Okay, so that child, when you go and speak to the child will say what is the actual problem. Maybe the child feels that only listening and learning is not helping them. So what we try to do, we try to come out with 4 or 5 options of teaching methods we are changing. So now you need to arrange that method, which method is going to work first, which method is going to work out second, third, fourth. List out few creative ideas to solve that particular problem. The fourth one is prototyping. What do you mean by prototyping? Again, out of all the various things that you have listed, that should be feasible. Feasible means it should be like, if you implement, there are chances of getting that particular problem solved. That type of idea should be brought into the picture. And the last stage is testing, the last principle. What do you mean by testing? Once you find out for this particular problem of the learner, as an educator, I can solve through solution 1, solution 2, and solution 3. Implement any one or two solution which has high possibility of getting successful in solving that problem. And once you implement, take the feedback of the learners, and once you take the feedback, you will get to know and do the assessment as well. Assessment is very important. When you don't do the assessment, you will not know. Maybe sometimes the student is not giving you adequate feedback, or actual feedback. Maybe they are just giving you for the sake of giving feedback. So what you do is you gather the feedback and try to improve. You check whether that particular solution has worked out for that, as an educator, for that particular learner or not. Moving on towards the next principle of design thinking, human centered. What do you mean by human centered? As I told you, as an educator, I need to keep focus on users need. Here users means the learners need. Okay, so if as an educator I don't know what is the actual that particular learner's needs, okay, needs and preferences, and their own experience, where they are feeling difficult in understanding the concept, then it is not going to work out. So as an educator, I need to be human centered. That means I need to understand what is their own requirement, what is their problem, what preference do we have, and how their experience and my experience are going to differ in solving their particular problem. The next one is collaboration. What do you mean by collaboration? You involve in various other department, not just you. For example, assume that I'm working for commerce department, and in commerce department, even artificial intelligence has major scope, where students need to understand what is artificial intelligence. So what do I do when I am trying to teach maybe accounting concept using AI? I will call one particular faculty. I'll invite one particular faculty from maybe BCA department or from computer science department, who can come and provide a brief introduction, or who can come and conduct various AI activities, which can where I collaborate with another faculty, and we two together are able to deliver the concept to the student in a much more creative and easy manner to understand. If I try to explain what is artificial intelligence, it's not going to work out, because basically I'll have in-depth knowledge about commerce. But what about a faculty from BCA department coming and trying to explain you artificial intelligence? He or she will be able to deliver that particular concept in a more simplified manner than if I try to explain. So there is a difference. So we need to collaborate with other educators in order to ensure that learners are getting benefited through this particular process. The next one is it is again iterative process. It is continuously refining ideas based on feedback and learning. As an educator, what I need to do, I need to keep on taking the feedback, and I need to work upon that feedback. Now always, as an educator, we cannot think the feedback provided by the learners will be positive. Need not be, because no one is perfect. So in order to make, we are also learners, educators are also learners. Let us keep that in mind, because every moment is a learning process. Maybe every time we need to upgrade, just like students are getting upgraded, same way the educators needs to get upgraded. How? The feedback should be considered, the learner's feedback, because they are the actual end user who is going to rate us. So when they are trying to rate us, we'll get to know the actual picture, where we are standing, what is our strength, what is our weakness, what is our future opportunities, what is the threat that we are not identifying by ourselves, but our students are trying to tell us. So wherever we are lacking, we can improve that, and we can ensure that by the time the next feedback goes, we have implemented our teaching method in such a manner that it is benefiting the learner, and where in the next feedback, whatever negatively it was given, that gets positively converted. The next one is bias towards action. Bias towards action means the focus on doing, building, testing, rather than over analyzing. As I told you, you shouldn't over analyze too much as an educator. Now, for example, I can give is maybe this incident happened recently. One child came to me and she said, she told me that, "Ma'am, you have given very less IA marks to me." And I told her, no, see, there is a certain category, first IA, second IA, and whatever you performed in first IA, second IA, and whether you involved in classroom activities, and what is your attendance percentage, what is your assignment. Based upon that, the marks is being provided. And when I told her this, she was not ready to accept. But when I tried to call and tell her, see, this is what, out of 5 marks out of IA, you have got only 1 mark because you did not perform well in the first IA. In second IA, you performed well. That's why out of 5 marks, you got 4 marks. So when you give that clarification, it is quite good. The learners will be also able to categorize where they need to give importance and how much they need to give importance. But without giving any clarification, if you try to overanalyze why the child is thinking that I have not given sufficient marks to her, or why the child is blaming me, we can never improve. So one way of solving the problem is also to avoid over analyzing the problem. You should analyze in such a manner that it gives you a positive thought and positive way in order to find a creative solution, but not further create major problem. The next one is embrace failures. This is one of the very important point. We as a human being, as an educator, we always think whatever we do, we should get successful. Need not be. Let me tell you, need not be. See, failure is the stepping stone of success. I always believe this. And as an educator, every person need to follow this. Maybe you tried one particular solution for the student's problem, it did not work out. It's okay, try again, you fail, try again, you fail, try again, you fail. But one particular day you'll be successful, and that one day is not too far. So you should always see failure as an opportunity to build your future, to build the learner's future, rather than keeping it as taking a step back. Moving on towards our next slides, the 5 stages of design thinking. Here comes the major topic, what I wanted to explain for today. So you can see as a picture that I have represented, where the 5 symbolizes there are 5 steps in design thinking, and the aim or the goal that I have pasted here, the image states that what is the goal, what is the ultimate goal of an educator. The person who's trying to climb the other person is the educator, and the person who's taking the help from one more person is the learner. So as an educator, I need to help the learners to climb the stairs of, or to climb the stairs of stages of 5 stages of design thinking. And for design thinking, all you need is creativity. You can see a brain with one particular light. That means you need to enlighten. As an educator, you need to enlighten the students. So how we are going to do? Let us proceed. There are 5 stages, as I told you. The first stage is emphasize, and the second stage is define, and the third stage is ideate, and the stage 4 is prototype, and stage 5 is test. So let us analyze each step by step, and then let's move on towards the activity session. The first stage, emphasize. What do you mean by emphasize? As I already told you, being an educator is not that simple in 21st century. You need to not only understand your own problem, you need to understand the learner's problem, the learner's need, the students, what challenges are they facing in 21st century. We always think, we did our best, the students are not giving good results, or we did our best, the slow learners are not able to adapt to our teaching. It need not be. First of all, we need to understand the students. Again, there should be no blame game on educators or on learners. There should be equal responsibility from both educator, learner, and parents as well. Here I did not emphasize on parents, but parents are also involved. So as a teacher, what is my responsibility? As an educator, I need to understand the students' learning needs. What do you mean by students learning need? There are various way that a child might learn, and it completely depends upon them. Now whenever I do revision class, there are bunch of students who say that, ma'am, if I study alone only, I'll be able to focus. And there are also bunch of students who will say, ma'am, if we do group studies now, ma'am, we'll be able to understand much more easier manner. There is also one more set of people, ma'am, if you could give us one leader, okay, who's a topper, we'll be able to perform, ma'am, because that person might explain us in a very short and very quick manner, since we have very less time. So depending upon the students, we should first of all analyze if a child is approaching you, or you should also approach the child, the learners, in order to understand what is their learning needs. As per that particular learning needs, you need to further proceed. The next one is understand students' challenge. See, let me be very frank. As an educator, not only we have challenges, even the students in 21st century have challenges. The challenges which as a learners we didn't face. The technology is getting upgraded, so they get distracted very fast than us. For example, during my stage and all, WhatsApp was almost introduction stage, where I didn't had a smartphone, so where I did not use a WhatsApp. But right now you have Instagram, you have lots of social media where students get distracted. So you need to understand, or maybe they have personal problem as well. So as an educator, I need to speak to the student and understand the challenges that they are facing. Maybe some students are financially supporting their family, so they have challenges, like they are working and they are studying. So maybe daytime they are studying, and evening time they are working. They reach midnight, so they are not able to focus on studies. This can also happen. So you need to understand their challenges and also understand students' perspective. What do you mean by students' perspective? Their thought process, their mind, okay, how they are trying to take one particular problem, maybe the problem or difficulty in understanding the concept. So this is called a stage 1 emphasize. Example, student felt comfortable while solving textbook problems. Okay, maybe I'm teaching a subject called as management accounting. I'll take an example of this. So there are some bunch of students who are toppers, okay, and these toppers are okay in solving textbook problems. You give them any textbook problems, they are like, okay ma'am, you showed us how to solve, now we will solve. Okay, but do you really think only textbook problems are going to help them in the real life? No, need not be. Maybe in the future they're going to become an accountant, or they're going to become a part of finance department, or maybe accounts department. So what should we teach them? We have to teach them in such a manner that what is required for the, as per the industry norms. So what did I do? I got to know only when I give the textbook problems, they are able to solve comparative balance sheet. They are able to compare 2 or more than 2 years balance sheet. But when I'm trying to give them the so I got to know, when I give them actual real company's balance sheet, there will be n number of items in the balance sheet, and they don't know which item will come under which heading or subheading. So this is part 1. First you have to talk to them and find out why they are finding difficulties. The stage 2 of design thinking is define. What do you mean by define? Define the problem. That means you have to frame a clear problem statement. You have to find out what is the root cause of the problem. Now, for example, you have a problem and you don't know why that particular problem, from where it arises, you will not know how to solve it. You will not know next time how to avoid that particular problem. So always, whenever there is a problem, as an educator, I need to analyze what is the actual problem. And after finding out the actual problem, I have to analyze students' feedback. The teacher must define the problem. How do I analyze what is the actual problem among the learners? I speak to the students, I collect the data from the students, I collect the feedback from the students, then the learners will be able to tell me what the actual problem is. And the next point is, defining the problem helps in locating the actual problem. I told you, when you clearly know your real problem, you will be able to tell what is your actual problem as well. Okay, so examples that I have given is students are finding it really difficult to prepare comparative balance sheet. I'm continuing the example from stage 1. Same example for everything in different stages I'm trying to explain. So students are finding it really difficult to prepare comparative balance sheet in real life business. Due to what? Due to limited knowledge. Why limited knowledge? Again, I told you the textbooks gives only limited knowledge. They give 5 to 6 items in accounts and you're done with it. They give in balance sheet liability side five items and asset side 5 items. They are done with it. But in reality, it need not be there. When you open a company's balance sheet and check, there will be at least 15-25 items in your balance sheet. Only liability side, only asset side. So in order, so when I give them actual balance sheet, they are not able to find out all the items, how it needs to be presented in real life scenario. So this is stage 2. I defined it, what is the actual problem. Moving on towards the next stage, ideate. What do you mean by ideate? Brainstorm. Brainstorm means you sit together, maybe you and the educator and the learner, and you brainstorm. Brainstorm means about one particular problem. You found, right, what is the actual problem. So you try to analyze various possible solutions for that particular problem and how you're going to solve that particular problem in a most creative manner. Okay, and out of this various thing, you have to stick on to your curriculum as well. Okay, see, recently the curriculum has been designed in such a manner where after giving about each chapter wise about that particular subject, they would have given skill development, they would have given other activities. So please analyze that, include that also as an activities, because students will learn the things only through activities. So include that also in your brainstorming session, and also explore all the possible solutions and the solutions which can be implemented without being judgmental. When you do the brainstorming, you should never be judgmental. What do you mean by judgmental? Trying to judge, no, this solution will not work out, no, that solution only will work out. You should never try to judge any solution. Blindly take a sheet of paper, do the brainstorming session, take down what are the alternate solutions that you could do. And examples I could interconnect is, now I told you, I was teaching management accounting subject where students were okay with textbook problems. When I gave them the actual balance sheet, they were not able to do. So what did I do? I had bought some 3 major decision. Okay, 3 major solution for this. First one is, I thought of providing them real annual reports of simple companies like Zomato or DMAT, and ask the students to highlight the items and ask them to analyze that item will come under which subheading and major heading. And the second solution is provide a guest lecture, traditional method again. Provide guest lecture on topic, again out of the box. Gone are days where again guest lecture will work out. No, maybe for documentation, yes, but in reality guest lecture will not work out, because again, whatever we are trying to teach, the other educator will also come in and will also explain the same thing. So no creativity method used. Then the third, again, now here I judged, you should not judge in the actual design thinking. And the solution number 3 is conducting a workshop. Conducting a workshop means hand-on experience where students will be able to literally solve that particular problem. So what did I do? I gave them real annual reports, and as a teacher I tried to explain them only one part of the balance sheet, only maybe liability side or only maybe asset side. And once I explained and I asked them to solve, they started solving the other side. Maybe I tried to explain them liability side and they tried to explain, they started providing on the asset side. Moving on towards the fourth stage. The fourth stage is fourth stage is prototype. Okay, what is a prototype? Prototype means once you find out what are the various solutions, now you have to try or provide a trial version of teaching tool. You have to modify your teaching methodology, you have to modify your lesson plans, the activities. Maybe now, for example, before the semester starts, as an educator you would have listed in lesson plan what type of activities for each topic you're going to follow. So modify that. It's okay, maybe at the beginning you gave some other activities, but right now you're in the mid of the semester and you feel that as per the requirement of the learners you need to modify the activity or change the activity. That's fine, that's totally fine, because ultimately the end user, that is the learner, should get benefited. So you try to change that particular, you include even the new activity. Analyze each tool or activity. Now once you provide the what do you say, that each tool, the teaching method, activities or method should be analyzed. Okay, analyze how it is going to help the learners. And the next one is, it is early version of solution to the problem. That means you have some 4-5 solutions, and this 4-5 solution you try to analyze. Let's proceed. Sorry for the inconvenience. So the examples that I can provide is distribute real annual reports of a simple company, as I told you. Okay. So, and providing guest lecture, traditional method, out of the box, conducting workshop, as I told you. The last one is stage 5 test. What is stage 5 test? That means whatever solution you have found out, you have to implement it. So when will you know that particular solution? Now 4 solutions you have found for the learner's problem. Now out of this 4 solution, which one is going to work out? Or maybe the first one itself is going to work out. You need to check, right? So you need to implement the solution. So only when you implement the solution, you will get the feedback from the students, that is the learners. And as per the feedback, if the feedback is positive, yes, you will carry forward the same teaching method. If the feedback is negative, you try to implement other prototypes, and you try to bring out the best possible solution. Okay, so moving on towards a next topic, that is problem solving is again part of design thinking. What do you mean by problem solving? Problem solving is a skill set. Okay, basically in today's world, problem solving is very much required, just like design thinking. So in problem solving, what do? You try to identify the issue, and you try to analyze them, and you try to logically fix that particular problem. So by fixing that particular problem, what happens? You find a solution in a very quick manner. So problem solving is a step-by-step mental process. Process again means you need to work out with your brain. You need to think and think and think, and what is the step that you're going to follow in order to identify the issue and analyze that particular issue and find an effective solution, means best possible solution which will work out in order to solve that particular problem. So there are basically 3 steps in problem solving, that is step number 1, identifying, step number 2, analyzing, and step number 3, solving. Okay, now let's understand the difference between problem solving and design thinking. Okay, as I explained what is design thinking and problem solving, let's understand how it is different. Okay, so see, let me tell you one more thing. Design thinking includes problem solving, but problem solving does not include design thinking. This is very, very, very clear. I'm repeating once again. Design thinking includes problem solving, but problem solving need not involve design thinking. So let's understand what is the difference between problem solving and design thinking. So problem solving is a logical approach to identify and fix the problem. So you basically identify what is the actual problem and you try to fix them. And design thinking is a human centered. As I told you, you completely depend upon the users, that is the learners, what actually they need, what is their perspective, and how you're going to solve that particular problem in a best innovative or creative manner. And the focus of problem solving is solving the problem in an efficient manner. Efficient manner means in the best possible manner. And whereas design thinking means understanding the user, that is the learner's need, and creating innovative solution. That means first you try to speak to the learners, identify what is the actual problem and try to come out with a few alternative solution. You try to test that particular alternative solution, and whichever solution works, fits in well, and then that's a particular solution has brought creativity in ensuring that the learners are able to learn in a much more creative manner. And then last difference is user centric. What do you mean by user centric? See, in problem solving, when we do problem solving skill set, when we acquire that, we never care about the end users. For us, the problem should be solved. But whereas in design thinking, the end user is the main person who should feel satisfied. That means that particular person or that learner should feel satisfied of how we are teaching and how they are able to implement that into reality world by using their creative minds. Moving on towards the next slides, benefits of design thinking. Let me read out again and again. I don't want to keep on repeating the same points. Benefits of design thinking, as I told you, as an educator, I need to encourage innovative teaching method. I should not follow only traditional. I should follow more of a modern method of teaching. I should also understand the students' need and their learning style. Again, when I speak about learning style, some students might be okay with visual learning style, or some students only when they hear they'll be able to deliver the concept. Some students only when they write. So it completely depends. Depending upon the learner, we need to modify our teaching style. And promotes empathy. That means as a teacher, I need to understand the learners, the students' point of view, their problems, their challenges, and try to make the classroom environment more collaborative. I shouldn't be like, I'm a teacher and you're a student, let's maintain a too much of boundary. Yes, boundary need to be maintained, but not in such a manner that it is affecting their learning. We should also be in a position to implement the activities and perform the activities along with the students, so that they feel more comfortable and more learning process happens. The next one is improve curriculum design through feedback and feedback. So basically what I need to do, I need to check the students feedback, and depending upon that curriculum lesson plan, whatever I have done, I need to modify it and increase engagement. As I told you, it should not be one way communication, it should always be two-way communication. Please do check with the learners, what do they feel about the topic, what have they understood, do they have any opinion to share, do they have any doubts on spot. When you're trying to explain, this has to be done. Now let's see what are the benefits for the students if as an educator I follow design thinking. It is develop critical thinking and creativity. Now, as I told you, design thinking involves solving a particular challenge or an issue of learners in a more creative manner. The student will develop critical thinking. That means he or she will start analyzing each thing in a very diplomatic manner and try to find a solution for it in a very creative and innovative manner. They don't stick on to traditional way of solving the problem. They come out with various new solution for the existing problem or to the new problem. So in the future, when they start working also, their brain, they start thinking in a very, very, very straightforward manner, that their thinking is quite higher level than compared to that stage of age. The next one is encourages a collaborative and hand-on experience. Let me tell you, today's generation learners, they don't study by reading and writing. Let me tell you, no, not at all. They love activities. They want activities. You tell them, let me give you a lecture. You listen just like now how I'm trying to do. Sorry, no, that will not be interesting. It should be a two-way process, which we will be following in the upcoming slides. The next one is promotes confidence. What do you mean by promotes confidence? One basic skills which students are lacking or which the learners are lacking in today's generation, and as an educator I need to highlight this, it is confidence. let me tell you, the kids are in such a manner, when they tell something right, they don't have confidence. But when they say something wrong, they have too much of confidence. So, as an educator, what we have to try to do is make the student more confident in whatever skills they have, in the way they communicate, the way they are trying to present the data, the way they are trying to analyze the data. Okay, so we should always ensure that we are giving that kind of motivation for the students in order to gain the confidence. The next point is help students to become active problem solvers. Okay, what do you mean by active problem solvers? Today's generation, trust me, in 21st century, we have lots of problem. We have lots of problem, let it be in any kind of industry. So so whom do the company recruit? The company recruit a particular person who has solution. They don't run away from the problem. They should not run away from the problem. They should face the problem and find the right solution in order to fix that particular problem in a creative manner. So this kind of skill set we should be able to ensure that the students are able to acquire from us. The next one is foster growth mindset. What do you mean by growth mindset? As I told you, growth mindset is something that you do not get disheartened for your failure. You should always feel failure is the stepping stone of your future success. So you should keep working, keep working. So when you implement design thinking in your curriculum, this is what happens. The student will start trying again and again and again until he finds success is not going to live. He's going to find a solution for all the problems that he's going to get, and he feels that he has achieved a level of growth in his career or maybe in personal life, in whatever perspective. Moving on towards the next one, the challenges faced by the educator as well as the learners in implementing the design thinking. Awareness and training, let me tell you, when we compare the entire India, especially when we compare India, out of 100%, hardly I can say 2% or 5% who use design thinking. Other all educators, we are very much stubborn to change our method of teaching. This is where the problem lags. If we don't do the design thinking in our curriculum towards our learners itself, then how are the students going to implement the design thinking in reality? So as an educator, all the educators should have the general awareness about design thinking, as well as basic training should be given for the educator to create their lesson plans or to create activities in such a manner that they include design thinking as part of curriculum. The next one is curriculum constraint. Again, as per the university, we have to follow the university. So hardly 5 chapters in a subject, go only 3 months, 4 months, finish in a hurry burry and come back, where at the end of the assessment the students are not performing. Why they're not performing? Because it's only one way communication. They're not involved in activities. We are not giving them a platform to think, to analyze, to, what do you say, to overcome the problem. So what happens, their brain is stuck to a position where they're not thinking at all. So when the brain is not thinking too much, it's not coming up with multiple solution to solve the problem. So as an educator, I need to provide them a lot of activities which is beyond the curriculum, which will bring them positive output. The next one is mindset issue. Again, the educator's mindset issue. Some are so stubborn that they don't want to change their method of teaching. This is a high level problem. As an educator, we cannot say that no, I cannot upgrade, I don't want to upgrade, this is sufficient for me, this is sufficient for my students. You should never think that. Maybe it's your perspective, it's your point of view, but need not be in general. So in general, you should always have a mindset of learning and implementing that into reality. You should have that I am a creative person, I can create a lot of activities through which the students will be able to solve the problem in a more creative, in a more innovative, in a more simplified manner. And resource limitation, again I told you, again conducting activities, having a curriculum based upon these particular activities, resources will be a major constraint. So as an educator, I need to check out of all the possible solution where the resources are available, so that I'll be able to implement and design thinking. Next one is assessment difficulties. Let me tell you, checking the learner's understanding based upon a sheet of paper is not going to work out. We should always check based upon the reality. And the next one is, okay, here comes the most interesting part. Here let us have two-way communication, because till now whatever I tried to explain, everyone knows this. As an educator, need not be that I have to explain. So let's have an interactive session. Okay, so you can also communicate your thought process here. I'm open to it. So let's see what are the interactive activities in the classroom. First one is case study. Second one is field research or internship. Third one is workshop. Again, it's not seminar or webinar, it's workshop. Workshops are very much practical. It should be practically thought, not that someone speaks and someone listens. Okay, so I'll be speaking about workshops. Reserve thinking. Now this is what is very important. We all this is very important. I'll try to explain this in the upcoming slide. Next one is business pitching, role play stimulation, startup ideation lab, product or service launch. Again, you would have heard only product launch. Why not service launch? Please encourage the students, if they are from commerce or management students, or even from other department, service launch. Why can't they become an entrepreneur? Tell them, see, they have best service. Please, what is that new service that you have brought into the picture? Let's introduce, let's make that as a business. Again, design thinking. Next one is business plan and relaunch. Again, this activity specially created by me, relaunch. What is relaunch? Launching the failed product into the market. Give the failed product, or tell the students, create a PPT. Pick any failed product in the market, prepare a PPT and come back. Let's have a competition. For example, Nokia was doing really great, and that company had a major drawback. Why did that particular company had a drawback? So how am I, as a I'm going to take over the company as a person, how am I going to relaunch that particular Nokia, so that the sales and the market share, everything will come back to the picture, coming to the competition. And the next one is quiz competition. Again, gone are days where quiz competition should be written or anything. You have lots of applications now, software, where or you can conduct this quiz competition. You have Google Forms, you have Kahoot, you have many various online quiz platform where you can conduct it for students. And last one is HR perception. Again, those who are teaching a HR concept, need not be HR. Here I have put perception. I'll tell you what is that event. You can also implement in your own department. Moving on towards the first slide of the activity, case study. I have conducted various case study for my students. Trust me, it is a magic tool, I would say. What is case study? Give them the real life problem. Please tell them. Now, for example, I had conducted almost recently twice this particular case study, where I gave a particular case. I have shared the screen. You can see I gave them this particular case. I told them Snapdeal. Now, once upon a time, Snapdeal was, very famous company, but right now, it's running under huge losses. It's not into market picture. So I started giving them one particular paragraph about Snapdeal, okay, to analyze that case, and I gave them few set of questions. What is that particular question? Until the year 2016, Snapdeal was leading e-commerce platform, but after 2016, there was a drastic loss, that is 510 crore in Snapdeal in the financial year 2017. Analyze the following. So what should the students, the learners analyze? What went wrong with Snapdeal in the year 2017? Because one wrong move that they did, they fell into that particular loss. So what is that particular wrong thing that they have done? The next thing is, what is the major problem that leading to the downfall of Snapdeal company? Like this, I frame some 5 set questions and I ask the learners to solve that problem. Now what happens, please give this case study like a workshop, give it in the classroom, so that they sit, ask them if they want, they let them use mobile, that's fine, that's totally fine, because when they are using mobile, they are trying to learn something, they read something, and when they read something, they try to acquire knowledge. So please, it's okay if you give them with mobile phone or with internet facility, that's fine, but let them solve, because the more number of problems they try to solve, they come out with more and more solution, confident builds, and in future any such case come also, they will be able to find a creative solution for that particular problem. Any doubts with case study? No? Can I move forward?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Next one is field research or internship. What do you mean by field research or internship? Please provide the learners with internship. Ask them, I'm giving you 10 days of time. Now, many universities are implementing internship as well. Give them 1 month of time. Let them go to any, need not be a bigger company. Let them go and work there as maybe front office executive, maybe as a cashier, maybe as a HR executive. Let them work. Let them understand. Let them go to a street vendor. I have shown a picture. Let them go to street vendor. Let them understand what is the problem faced by them. What is the challenge faced by them, what is their source of income, how they are promoting their particular selling. Let the students understand the reality by doing. So when you give them this opportunity and you tell them 5 marks I'll give you in your assessment if you try to achieve this, they'll be happy, they will go, they will learn and come something. The next one is workshop. Please conduct lots of workshop. As I told you, students were feeling very difficult to analyze the actual real world balance sheet. So what I did, I gave them you can just see, I have posted one particular in the screen, one picture where I have showed that Tata Industries Limited, I have included the balance sheet, and I started asking the students to prepare comparative balance sheet. So comparing the previous year with the current year. So the students will be able to identify each item and try to find out whether there was an increase or decrease in liabilities or asset, whether there was means that particular asset, or what is the whether it is a positive increase or negative. They'll be able to analyze. So the next one is reserve thinking, very, very important. I can explain this through an example. See, the actual problem is, how can we increase brand awareness of new product? How do you increase the brand awareness? So think it in an opposite manner. How can we make sure no one knows about our product? Think opposite of it and find a possible solution for it. And you should do totally opposite to that. That means don't advertise anywhere. That means in real world you have to do lots of advertisement. And how do you do the advertisement? Through social media. Especially today's generation are into social media, so target the social media. So this is how reverse thinking. Reverse thinking means think in a backward manner, so that you find a solution. Next one is business pitching. What do you mean by business pitching? Again, ask the students to pitch their business. They have business ideas, ask them to raise the fund. Now as an entrepreneur, as a new startup person, how do I go and raise the fund for my business? I go and tell my ideas to the venture capitalist and I try to raise the capital. How do you attract them through your business ideas? Please ask your students to come up with a business pitching. Ask them to pitch their business, how much money they require, how much contribution required from the investor, how are they going to attract the investors to invest in their particular company so that they can proceed with their company. Please ask the students to do this. Trust me, they will have a lot of innovative ways to raise the capital. The next one is role play. Again, please give them, for example, you can take any particular day for consumer awareness day. Okay, I had done this activity for consumer awareness day. Many of them did not know what is consumer rights at all. They would have studied in commerce, but still they don't know. So how do you make them to analyze the consumer rights? You ask them to, you explain them what is consumer rights in one of the class, and you try next day you give them one particular situation and you ask them to do the role play. Ask one person to act as a consumer court, ask one person to act as a victim, one person as the company. Let them tell let them play that particular situation and show how they are going to solve that particular issue, what are the possible manner. Okay, the next one is a startup ideation lab. Please take them to lots and lots of industrial visit, field visit, okay, and even excursion, because they'll get to know the culture, they'll get to know the place. For example, you take to any particular factory, they will learn the production process, they will learn how the company is able to raise the capital, how the company is able to marketize a particular product, how the company is able to take care of their employees, health and safety in the company. Okay, so the next one is a product and service launch. Please ask your students to launch their particular product or service. Okay, let them bring the models, not just PPT. Ask them to prepare the models and bring it, ask them to show. This happened in my previous college where I was working. One student bought a robot vacuum cleaner almost some 5 to 6 years back itself, and it was very much active, it was in a working mode. I was very much shocked, because you tell the students to bring the model. I thought, okay, something they will prepare and bring, but no, in reality students are creative. So they went to maybe one particular place where they get all the electronic material, they bought all the components and they assembled it together, they created the outer layer of that particular robot as well, vacuum cleaner, and they presented. So students are very creative. Please give them a situation where they launch their products or service. The next one is business plan. Again, please, in today's world, entrepreneurship is playing an important role. So please give them plan. Bring your business into picture. So, what is your business? I have an idea. How am I going to implement that particular product or service into reality? How am I going to start the business? Ask them to bring the layout of the business, because framing the layout of the business also is a skill. So let them learn that particular skill. Learn by doing. Next one is relaunch, launching the failed product. Examples I can say is Samsung, or I can say Nokia, or I can say Tata Nano. Why did that particular car go into losses, no major sales? Because they use the word cheapest car. Okay, only because of that particular word, it hit the ego of the current people, so they didn't want to opt for that particular product. So how do you marketize that particular product, so that if that particular product come into the picture right now, more and more sales happen, more and more revenue has been created. So please ask the students to come and prepare a presentation on relaunching a failed product. Next one is quiz competition. Conduct lots of quiz. Okay, for example, I have given in the screen B, which particular company's logo it is. Okay, as a commerce educator, you can ask logo competition, you can conduct tagline competition, you can conduct advertisement competition, identify which advertising company is presenting this particular advertisement. You can do lots of competitions, interactive activities for their design thinking. Next one is HR perception. Give them any one particular picture where the that particular concept name is not there in that picture. For example, you can see here one person is climbing the staircase. Give them 1 minute of time to analyze the picture and tell them in HR perspective, in human resource perspective, in accounting perspective, how do you view at this particular picture? Speak about this picture. Their communication skills improve, the way they are trying to put their thought process into creativity will increase. Okay, so with this I am trying to conclude. Thank you all. I hope you have gone through whatever I tried to communicate. Please, as an educator, don't only use traditional methods. Please do use the modern method of teaching tools. Use various activities where the students feel happy to come to your class and attend your class. Thank you. Any doubts?
Ma'am, thank you so much. Thank you so much to Professor Kavya Ji for delivering a highly insightful and engaging session on design thinking and problem solving skills for the 21st century. Your practical perspectives and inspiring ideas have given us a fresh outlook on how to nurture creativity and critical thinking in our students. Ma'am, we truly appreciate your time, clarity, and valuable contribution to this activity. We now open the floor for a brief question and answer session. Participants, please feel free to post your questions in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself to ask any sort of question related to our topic. Any questions?
Please feel free. 2 minutes of your time I would take. Please feel free to ask any questions related to the topic.
Yes. Okay, ma'am. In the meantime, I would like to ask you a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Like, ma'am, if you had to explain design thinking to a 10-year-old, how would you do it?
Okay.
Like, yeah.
For example, I would give him puzzles. What I would do is I give him a puzzle where I'll ask him to assemble that particular puzzle. Now, for a 10-year child, maybe playing in video game is quite interesting. But when you ask the child to assemble the puzzle, he or she will try to put step number 1 to step number 2, 3, try to fix it out. And he will find a possible solution where it will fit in right, and that's where he will succeed. When each puzzle piece has been matched in an appropriate manner and he tries to frame out the complete puzzle, he will feel happy, he will feel creative, he will start asking for more and more puzzles. So his thinking way will also improve, his creation will also improve. He will start preparing his own puzzle in a sheet of paper, he'll try to tear it and try to assemble it back. So he's trying to become more and more creative. He creates his own puzzle also.
Yes, ma'am. So that's a good response because, ma'am, a few years ago I watched a movie called Tare Zameen Par.
Yes.
So where a student in a class, he used to suffer from dyslexia, if I'm not wrong. Yes. So the hero used to make the student to upgrade himself to like math. So he used to make the student to learn maths and other subjects slowly. So parents used to see that difference. So that we in that way, so we can implement.
Yes,
So,
and one more thing also. What I use, the strategy that I use is in practical subject, especially complex problem, I try to teach them through symbols. For example, changes in working capital. When I try to explain them changes in working capital, they will not remember. When I say one-way road, two-way road, they will understand. If there is increase in asset, the working capital also increase. If the like one-way road, okay, asset is like going in one way, asset and working capital is going in one-way road, and again, liability and working capital are opposite roads. That means it is like two-way. If one is going in one direction, the upper direction, the other should go in the down direction. So this is how we try to explain them. Nowadays students remember diagrams more clearly. So instead of telling them, giving them passage or anything, please write it in short form, give them a few tricks and techniques so that they will be able to remember that particular picture or diagram very for longer time.
yes, that's right. So do you think design thinking is more of a mindset or a method, ma'am, or a mix of both?
Ma'am, it's a mix of both. First of all, mindset is very important for design thinking. If you are restricting yourself too much that no, I will do it in a traditional method only, I will solve this problem like how everyone solved only, you will never find new solutions. You will never find
That's
new
right.
creative solution. Now, for example, long back they invented basic mobile phone with keypad. If they would have thought that is the closure, that is the end point, had we come to the smartphone.
Yes.
So always upgradation is very much required in any field. As an educator, I feel that we need to get upgraded. For example, 10 years back, did we have any online session like this? No. And did we had this much of knowledge then to conduct an or to present an PPT online? No. How did we implement? By going through that phase. So you should always go through the phase in order to mind process. Your mindset is everything. You can achieve everything if you set your mind. Please convince your mind to achieve.
Very well said. So I request participants, if there is any questions, you can post your questions or you can unmute yourself right now. Ma'am, we have received plenty of appreciation, word of appreciation about your session.
Thank
So
you
very
so much.
informative and insightful session, wonderful presentation. So more of like, so our facilitator, your presentation was truly vibrant and insightful, offering fresh perspectives on innovative thinking and practical problem solving. That's from my coordinator. Okay, and more of the participant has been posting like word of appreciation. So
Thank you so much.
that's
Thank you all for being so kind and humble hearted and down to earth to give me this appreciation.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you for addressing the queries so thoughtfully. So I now, in order to conclude this session, I now invite our Tamil poet of our department, Professor E. Kannan, to deliver the vote of thanks. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening to everyone present here in my immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for day 5 of our 7th day International Virtual FPP on Tech Enabled Student Development in a Bukabani preparing learners for uncertain future. We thank our heartful gratitude to Honorable Secretary Sri Udan Kumar Chorodia, Associate Secretary Sri Hemanti Chorodia, our dynamic Dean Dr. M. Ramya, Deputy Dean Dr. R. Surekha, Director Dr. N. Venkataraman sir for their continued support and inspiring motivation. A special thanks to our resource person, Professor J. Kavya, Assistant Professor of Department of Commerce, HKBK College, Bangalore, for your inspiring speech on design thinking and problem solving skills for the 21st century, which showcase your academic excellence in this field. Really, thank you, ma'am.
Welcome,
Finally,
sir.
finally, thanks to all the faculty members and research scholars who are actively participating in this FPP journey. Thank you all.
Thank you for your kind words, sir.
Thank
Dear
you, ma'am.
participants, as we near the close of day 5 of our faculty development program, we would like to take a quick virtual group photo to capture this moment. We warmly request all the participants to kindly switch on your cameras so we can take a snapshot of this wonderful gathering. It will just take a minute, and we would like to preserve this as a memory with all your smiling face. So I request all the participants to switch on their camera right now. Is it over?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So before we conclude, I request all the participants to kindly take a moment to fill in the feedback form for today's session. The link is the link will be posted in our WhatsApp group as usual. So now, as we draw the curtains on day 5 of our faculty development program, let's pause and reflect on a powerful thought shared by the visionary Steve Jobs. Design is not just what it looks like and feels like, design is how it works. Today's session reminded us that creativity in education Isn't it just about presentation? It's about purpose, process, and problem solving. Thank you all for being such a wonderful and engaged audience this evening. We look forward to welcome you back tomorrow at 6:45 p.m. sharp for day 6, where we continue our journey of learning and innovation. Thank you. Have a great time. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.